Here we are once again. A couple of silver spoons. I don't know the rest of the song. I forgot the show. Welcome into Hill Talk Sports. We are Scott Kennison and TJ Hill, coming to you live from Cleveland, Ohio, or Northeast Ohio, somewhere in Ohio. We don't want to say where we're at because we don't want you to come and kill us. But anyways, tonight.
What? Wait. I'm not afraid of anyone coming to kill me.
Scott, where are we at? Happens all the time.
Ohio?
Happens all the time. Ohio's crazy. So anyways,
Not
Scott, how are you tonight?
fantastic, I think.
Good. I'm glad you're fantastic. Feeling fantastic, sir. I'm in a great mood. As you my shirt, but I'm not going to show the rest of the shirt. You saw it earlier before we go on the air. Tonight, it's going to be a different kind of thing because, you know what, Scott? Really, at this time of the year, there's really nothing to talk about sports-wise other than basketball. And I don't want to just drown in basketball all day. So we're going to mix up a little bit and talk about different things. Some basketball will be mentioned, of course. Talk about a little football, of course, because we're diehard Browns fans. And then we're going to get into a little bit of how Russia invading the Ukraine is affecting sports, among other things. How much you paying for gas today, Scott?
It was like $3.30, $3.40 a gallon.
I was at $3.57, I believe it was. And then I realized I was pumping the gas, and I'm looking at the gas tank, looking at the gas in the car. I'm getting a little mad. Like, can y'all stop doing what y'all doing so I can pay cheaper gas prices, please? I appreciate that. But anyway, it goes much deeper than that, as we know, and we'll probably get to that later on the show. First of all,
what? No, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Possibly.
Because tonight's show is off topic. Here's my thing, and I wasn't going to talk about this anymore. We did last week, but there's still, the fire is still smothering on this story about LeBron James. And LeBron is the kind of guy who stirs up stuff to keep himself relevant in the media. No, I mean, I'm just assuming that's why he did what he did. Because
he doesn't need attention.
When he went back to LA, he totally flip-flopped and said, I plan to stay a Laker. I'm going to be a Laker until whenever. But when you came to Cleveland, I'm not closing the door and come back to the Cavaliers. I want to play with my son. Your son going to get drafted by the Lakers? Now, I haven't really seen Bronny play a whole bunch. I've seen little stuff on YouTube and that. The thing is, Bronny's playing at a school where pretty much everybody there is probably going to be in the NBA at some point or get close to it. So he's playing at a higher level than maybe his dad did, because when his dad went to high school, he played with pretty much regular guys for the most part. How many of those guys made it to the league?
No, but he did play at St. Vincent St. Mary's, which is one of the better private high school basketball programs.
Better then. It's not, but it's not hot now though. How many times
when
he
won? Played. I'm saying when LeBron played, he wasn't playing regular high school basketball.
That's true, but the school his son is at is a higher caliber basketball program where you go there to play basketball. So it's a little bit different, you know what I mean? So he's playing with a higher caliber of maybe higher competition also too. So I think Bronny's 6'2", 6'3". So I don't know if he will have the draw that his dad did, because you gotta figure at 17 LeBron was on Sports Illustrated getting Hummers and so forth. Bronny's not. Now, granted, Bronny is LeBron James' son. He's already rich technically, but he's not getting notoriety that his father got at the same age. He's not doing the same things.
LeBron James is a once in a generation, and I'd honestly say once in the history of the NBA player, that his raw physical talent and ability has never been matched and probably will never be matched. And Bronny James is
average at
best. Guy who might make the league, might 17. Be a second round pick. Yeah, he might be a second round pick. He might be a first round pick. He might play some development league ball. He might play overseas. He's a good basketball player. If you listen to Stephen A., the scouting report given to him was that Bronny shoots better than his dad right now, and may be able to do some things, at a high level, and he might end up being a first-round draft pick by the time it's all said and done. But the bottom line to this is, at 40 years old, LeBron James Sr. is going to be the far better basketball player and of far more value to his team. And that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not fair to expect that LeBron James Jr. will be as good as LeBron James. It's just not fair. I mean, Michael Jordan's kids never were basketball stars. If LeBron James's kid makes it to the NBA, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's impressive, as it is for anybody else. And for LeBron to say, for people to say, man, LeBron went to the Lakers and said he wants to stay a Laker forever. Yeah, well, you remember when LeBron came back and they threw that like self-gratification parade to him in Akron?
Yep.
And he got on the stage and he said, I'm gonna do what makes me happy. I'm gonna do what makes my city happy. I'm gonna do what makes my family happy. This is where I wanna be, and this is where I'm gonna be. I'm back. Literal mic drop off the stage.
Yes.
And all of Northeastern Ohio went insane. I felt like I was more excited that night sitting in my backyard with the bonfire going, listening to that, than I might have been after they won the championship.
It was ultimate hype. Ultimate hype, man. It was you felt like he cared. You felt like he was sorry that he left. Not that he left. He felt like he was sorry the way he left. And he wanted to come back and let everybody know, I'm sorry how I did you guys. I'm back to make it right. Let's roll. And that's the feeling everybody got, you know? He did.
Yeah, and he made it right. And I can't hold it against him. And I'm going to say this. Sports is about the only thing where we feel that someone should make a decision based on what society and other people think is best for them. I will give LeBron James this credit. I think he has always done what is best for his family, best for him, and best for his career. Maybe at different points in his life. When he went to go to Miami, that was the better move for him in his career. And that's also at that point the right move for his family. It advanced LeBron James. It gave him more opportunities. It was the right thing for LeBron James's professional path and his own mental well-being of winning a championship and getting that off of his back. That wasn't going to happen in Cleveland.
No.
The Cavs were in cap hell. The Cavs were not getting better. The Cavs were getting worse. They did worse that season in 2010 than they did in 2009. They were further away from winning that year. They were falling behind. The game was changing again. When LeBron James came back to Cleveland, his wife wanted to be here. That was easy to read, easy to see. LeBron's wife wanted to come home. LeBron's kids wanted to come home. LeBron wanted his kids to see and remember where they came from. He went home. When LeBron went to L.A., Bronny Jr. was going to play in L.A., and Savannah wanted to be by her son, and she wanted her husband with him in L.A. And it was also the right thing to do for LeBron James's post-basketball career to get into LeBron James production, Space Jam 2, acting. LeBron James set something up for himself and his family in L.A. and went to L.A. to play with the Lakers in a move that made sense for him and his family at this point and not his professional career and accomplishments. L.A. is by far probably the worst competitive choice he's made, and he somehow won a championship there as well. But it was the right move for his family. It was the right move for Bronny James. And people want to criticize him for that. Go ahead and do it. But in that moment, LeBron James unselfishly chose his family and what was best for his wife, for his family's future income, for his grandkids' future income, his great-grandkids' future. You may say, how much money does he need? But LeBron is trying to make sure, like any of us would do, that not only is he set up, his kids set up, his grandkids set up, you're thinking generations down the line.
Yes.
LeBron absolutely wants to live that way for everyone. And it may be easy to say, how much money do you need? But he has a limited amount of time to work.
True.
And not all athletes make that transition. I can't fault LeBron. Now, again, you can always read the room with LeBron, and in the end, it pretty much is what it appears to be. He's out of L.A. I don't know where he's going yet. I will tell you where he is going. Whatever team drafts his son. And the reason he's doing that is, at 38 years old, LeBron James is still going to be a piece that some team will want for a championship run if all it takes is wasting a draft pick on his kid. They will be willing, some teams will be willing to trade that mid-first round draft pick just to get LeBron James. They will certainly be willing to draft his son if that means that he will sign with them in free agency. And if I was the Cavs, I'd do it. I'd be an exact whatever I had to do to draft Bronny James Jr. And that means that whether he should or shouldn't be in the NBA, Bronny James Jr. will be a first-round NBA draft pick, and LeBron James will play at least one season, maybe two, maybe three, with his son. And I think, I mean, it's never actually hidden with him. It's the worst kept secret ever when he leaves. You just have to, at this point, we've seen it 3 times. We know exactly where he's going when this contract with LA is up. Wherever, whatever team drafts his son. And I honestly think if that means he has to retire and go play in Europe, he'll go do it.
Now, LeBron James has a contract with the Lakers. This is the first year of a 2-year contract that expires in 2023, correct? It's like $84 million. Bronny can come into the league at 2024. So technically, LeBron will be a free agent when his son is eligible to be drafted.
After the end of next year, he's an unrestricted free agent.
That's all by design.
It works out perfect.
It's all by design.
Yeah.
All by design.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that rolls out. I don't fault LeBron for doing things he's doing. I mean, people go criticize you for something they can't do. Because if you had his basketball skills, his wit, his connections, you wouldn't do the same thing? Of course you would. It's about building wealth for your family.
Yeah, let me just put this into perspective. There are signs up right now for employers struggling to attract employment that says $1 an hour more because they know that's what it takes. That they can steal someone away from the other place by beating that salary or that hourly rate by $1 an hour. Yeah. So anyone who sits here and says, no, I wouldn't chase that last dollar, garbage. We've all done it. We've all done it for nothing remotely similar to what these guys are chasing. So when you tell me, oh, what's the difference between $80 million over 4 years and $88 million over 4 years? $8 million! It's $8 million! It's more money than most of us will make in our life. Don't ask me, well, what's the difference between $88 million and $80 million? It's $8 million. I want to see one of you tell me you don't need $8 million. It's not happening.
I'm not going to tell you that.
You're taking it.
Absolutely going to take it. Look, at the end of the day, it's still a hot topic because everybody's talking about it still. People are wondering, should he come back to Cleveland? Does Cleveland want him? Does Cleveland want his son? We'll find out in a couple of years, I guess. We'll see how it tracks next year with LeBron and how he speaks to the media and stuff. Because LeBron will tell you what he's going to do before he does it. Like you just said, he's going to put it out there for you. However you interpret it.
It might be from a physical trainer. It might be from a barber. Yeah. It might be,
I got mine from a barber.
Person who knows that his mom just bought season tickets. Remember that one was out there.
Well, remember what
Gloria
Savannah
James
did.
just bought season tickets.
Well, Savannah just posted something on Instagram like a couple of days after All-Star break. Did you hear about that?
No.
There's a picture of the city of Akron that said "No place like home."
Oh yeah.
The last time she did that, LeBron James came back.
It'll become very, very clear. And here's my other prediction, okay? When LeBron James left town in 2010, I heard for 4 years, I don't want him back. I heard that whole summer, I don't want him back. No, the way he left, we'll do it without him. Man, every single one of those people who burned their LeBron James, I won't say every single one, 98 out of 100 of you who burned your LeBron James jersey went out and bought a new one. As soon as he decided it was going to be 23 rather than 6, you went out and you bought a new one. And you were down there cheering, all was forgiven, and you loved him again. He was your basketball hero. And you know what? It's going to be the exact same thing if he comes back in 2024, and you're going to remember that he won you a championship and the good things. Just like if Kyrie Irving came back, you would forgive Captain Flat Earther too.
Kyrie's a little bit different than me. Speaking of Kyrie
Man,
Irving, before the break, you mentioned that he's still refusing to take the vaccine,
yeah, it's
but he isn't. He
vaccine
won't have to
mandate
pretty
will
soon.
work, and he won't pretty soon, but it's not going to be for a few days.
You know, a few days. I mean, you already missed half the season. A few days ain't gonna hurt you a little bit. You know, you make a little push right here towards the end. See what
If
happens.
I'm Kyrie's teammates, I'm pretty upset.
Why?
There's no
Why?
scientific valid reason not to take the vaccine. There isn't. There's not
Okay,
one.
who's saying anything to do with science?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with science.
Okay,
The
so
same
you said there's
logic
no
why
scientific. There's no scientific reason not to take the shot to vaccine. But if you
there's
don't
no
trust it
valid
and don't
reason
believe in
not
it,
to take there's no valid reason not to take the vaccine.
yes, it is.
No, there's not.
Yes, it
It's
is.
completely 100% proven safe,
By
effective
who?
at preventing people.
By the scientist.
No, by the actual real world experiment we've been running for the last 12 to 18
Okay.
months.
So
It
I didn't.
prevents people from
So
dying.
I'm wrong for not taking it.
T, we've had this conversation a lot. So
It's a
just let me
simple
say it
question,
like this.
Scott.
T.
Simple question, Scott.
T.
That's all I'm asking you, buddy. Come on.
Yes, I
Don't-
believe you should have taken the vaccine. Yes, I believe that by not taking the vaccine, it puts other people in danger. And yes, I believe that people should be compelled to take the vaccine,
I disagree with you fully
whether they
because
agree
it's
or
my
not.
body. I disagree with you
It
fully
is.
because it's
I
my
agree.
body, and if you think I'm putting you at risk, don't be around me. Because plenty of people that I know personally have gotten boosters and the vaccine and still contracted it
You can
multiple times.
contract it. It's not going to keep you from
Multiple times.
contracting it. What it's
Exactly.
going to do is prevent you from, in almost every case, it is very, very good at preventing you from dying and getting seriously ill, which means that when you need to go to the hospital for something, you're going to be able to go to the hospital and there's going to be a bed for you because they're not going to be out of space because they're overflowed with COVID patients at the moment.
That
And
didn't
most
get
of the people
vaccination.
that didn't get the vaccination.
But
Yes.
I saw numbers that said a lot of people in the hospital had the vaccination and still had it.
There are people who had the vaccination and went to the hospital, but the majority, the vast majority of the cases in the hospital
So
are
we're doing
unvaccinated.
numbers. We're doing numbers right now.
It comes down to this, okay? I have a baby here in a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a slate of vaccines that child is supposed to have, okay? Scarlett is going to need to get her vaccines. I will get her vaccines. And here's why, okay? It should be taken away from me and put in the hands of the doctors because here's why. There are kids who cannot medically get the measles vaccine, okay? I will introduce you to these parents. They cannot get that vaccine. Their child is immunocompromised. Their child is too weak to get it. If everyone else gets their vaccines, that child is protected from measles by the fact that it's not out there in the community still because everyone else has been immunized, okay? When you choose not to vaccinate your kid for measles, you put someone else's kid at risk for measles. And in this country, you have the freedom to make the choices that are best for you until the choices you make can harm somebody else. It's the reason why I can't say, I think 20 miles an hour in a school zone is BS and I'm going to go 85. Because I might kill a child by doing it. It's the same reason at some point when we know that there are good things to do for public health, you have to do them.
No, you don't.
I'm not sure. I don't agree that this isn't a vaccine, Lou. I see that comment. I just I'm not sure about that. It's a different type of vaccine because we gave the messenger RNA. We're not using a live vaccine, but it's still causing our immune system to develop the antibodies needed to fight it the way any other vaccine would do. We just changed the mechanism.
But doesn't your immune system advance anyway to protect yourself?
Not always. The thing about the vaccine is you can trigger your immune system to be ready for it beforehand so that as soon as it gets in your immune system, it doesn't have time to replicate. So your immune system is killing less virus. I mean, what would you rather do? Kill the invaders before they got in your house? One at a time?
They come in anyway. They're coming in regardless.
Realize that there's 500 of them. No, but what if I could tell you that you could set up a defense system that would take them down as soon as they got in your property, or you can choose to wait until they're all in your house and then try to take them out.
If you could tell me that if I took the vaccine, I would not get COVID anymore, I would take it. But there's no guarantee. Some people have still died after taking the vaccine. There's been side effects from taking the vaccine. Now, the number is low, of course, but it is possible. So who knows? I won't be the one to get that. I don't want to take that chance. I'd rather stay away from everybody. I'm a homebody anyway. I don't go out.
I get it. Look. I can't compel you to do it, to take the vaccine in the United States. And as I said, I think people should be compelled to. I'm wrong there. This is a free country, but I think it is a public health issue. And I've said this before.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's how you feel about it, and I fully understand and respect that. I feel different.
You and I have had this conversation before. The reason I want you to get the vaccine more than anything is I want you to be healthy, safe, and live, and know that you're not at risk of dying of COVID-19.
I appreciate that.
More than anything, that's why I want you to take the vaccine.
I appreciate that. I might get it one day, but not right now. I'm gonna let it cook for a couple years first.
I want you to take the vaccine because I love you, brother, and I want you to be here.
If everybody I know had took the vaccine doesn't grow a third arm in 2 years, then I'll take it.
There you go.
All right.
It's the same thing I said to my dad, the same thing I said to my mom, my grandparents. I want you guys to be here. If I didn't care about you, I'd say, I don't care if you take the vaccine.
Don't take that damn shot, T. Don't. You're
cares,
fine.
Man.
All right. So, Kyrie, man. Kyrie. He going to do what he going to do no matter what. You know that guy's kind of goofy, so it is what it is with Kyrie. So, let's move on to another diva. Our very own Jarvis Landry.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Baker Mayfield.
We'll get to that later. It's always about Baker. We'll get there later. But let's talk about Jarvis. You got a quarterback coach on, by the way. I was debating this earlier today with a couple people at work about Jarvis. And I think, what was he making now? 16 million, 14, 16 million, somewhere around last year?
Let me look it up
real quick. I think it's somewhere in that area, though. So, I'm not sure if they're going to restructure or try to restructure it or not, his contract. But Jarvis not number one receiver, first of all. Has Jarvis made the Cleveland Browns better? That's a question that we're posing right now. Does Jarvis Landry make the Cleveland Browns a better football team?
100% yes.
Okay. Unpack that for me. Because to me, Jarvis is average. Now, granted, he supposedly was injured last year. I think what Jarvis brings to the table for the Browns is a veteran presence, somebody that can be in the room that will help other players develop. He's not a deep threat. He may be a third down receiver at best. But what does that get you? How many touchdowns did he have last year? 1 or 2?
2.
But that's the whole receiving core. They didn't have touchdowns either. They scored a touchdown like week 11 or something like that in the season. So the whole thing was dysfunctional. But my thing is, do you want to pay Jarvis Landry upwards of $14, $15 million to be your third option at receiver?
Well, he's not your third option right now. That's the problem.
But he's not a deep threat. He's not a deep threat. That's what I mean by that.
He's not a deep threat in the team because Kevin Stefanski doesn't design deep routes. Even if he has them, he doesn't use them. He's not a deep route guy.
But you have to, though. You're going to have to eventually.
Let's unpack Jarvis Landry. Let's unpack Jarvis Landry.
Get him.
He's 29 years old. Okay, he is. It was his 8th season in the league last year, heading into his 9th season. Okay. 758 yards, 1157, 1136, 987, 976, 1174, 840, and 570 with the career low 52 receptions last year. Okay. Injured. I agree with what the guy tweeted the other day. I gave everything to try to get back on the field and give this team what I could. He played hurt. He played before he was supposed to. He clearly wasn't himself last year. And he got out there and left it all on the field to try to get this team to the playoffs. The other thing, let's go with the intangibles first. He is a guy that can show Donovan Peoples-Jones and Schwartz and whoever you draft this year the professional way to go about preparing for a week of practice, recovery, conditioning, keeping your body in condition, getting your body back in condition, film study, what you do on the practice field and how that translates into a win on Sunday. He can teach them how a lazy session in film room can lead to a loss on Sunday. He can teach you how a drop pass on third down before halftime can lead to a loss. Jarvis Landry is something that you do need on this team in that room. Secondly, is Jarvis Landry a number one wide receiver? The answer is no. He's never been a number one wide receiver. Jarvis Landry is a good route runner, knows how to find space, knows how to get open, knows how to catch the ball. Jarvis Landry is the guy you want as your number 2 wide receiver on the Cleveland Browns. You don't have your number 1 wide receiver. Not on your roster. You're probably not drafting your number 1 wide receiver this year. This is going to be another year of a run-heavy offense, trying to get Kareem Hunt out of the backfield and trying to get your 3 Toyota Priuses at tight end the ball and scheming them open. That said, you've got to have Jarvis Landry. We talked about how tough it got for this offense to move without Odell Beckham Jr. Do you remember the games that we've watched them play without Odell Beckham Jr. and without Jarvis Landry? Give up. No one is afraid of Donovan Peoples-Jones. I hate to say this. Donovan Peoples-Jones may be a very nice guy. There is no DB in the league that gets up in the line of scrimmage and goes, holy shit, I got to check DJP. They're not afraid. Yet. They don't care. He's never going to be ready. If he was going to be ready, if they were going to be scared of him, they'd be scared of him. DJP is a 4th string wide receiver at best. He's a special teams player and a 4th string wide receiver at best. Schwartz reminds me a lot of Greg Little. He quits on his routes. He doesn't run the right routes. I don't think he has great hands. He's faster than Greg Little, but I don't have high hopes about Schwartz. Hollywood Higgins runs amazing routes, knows how to get open, catches the ball, has good communication with Baker Mayfield, and might be slower than Harrison Bryant.
But he's going to be gone this year probably, right?
There is, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if anyone wants him.
But Browns have $23 million under the cap.
Yeah. There's no DB in the league that is afraid to cover Hollywood Higgins. Not one. Not one. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. No one's afraid to cover Jarvis Landry. They're not worried about that. But the thing is, because they know Jarvis is going to beat them for 10 yards. He's not going to make them look like an idiot. He's not going to beat them for a touchdown. They don't care about that. But Jarvis Landry can catch you passes. He will run the right route. He will clear space for the route that you're trying to get to. And you know what? He sacrificed a lot. Because I'll guarantee you half of those routes were about Jarvis Landry clearing out to get David Njoku clear for a rollout pass. And that's not fun. I think any wide receiver wants to get into the huddle knowing that they're going to run a fade to create a drag route for the 3rd string tight end. But he does it. You ever hear him complain? You ever hear him go after his quarterback? You ever hear him go after his offensive coordinator, his head coach, or the play calling? No, man. The man comes to work, runs his routes, catches the ball, plays hurt, leaves every damn thing he has out in the field. Hell yes, I want that guy on my team at $14 million a year. Yes, yes, yes. I'm not thinking about it. He's still going to be in the league for a while. There's a spot for him. You've got to find a wide receiver anyway. You don't have anyone else to replace him with. If you were talking about an embarrassment of riches and I had other choices, okay. If I still had Odell Beckham Jr. on this team, maybe okay. But I have literally no one who belongs above 3rd or 4th string wide receiver on this roster. Not one. You can tell me DJP does. You can tell me about Hollywood Higgins. That's when people used to try to tell me that Duke Johnson was a weapon. No, Duke Johnson was nothing. Every team had a Duke Johnson. Basketball analogy, every team had a Matthew Dellavedova. Every single team has a DJP. Every single team has at least one Hollywood Higgins. And every single team has a Schwartz. They all do. They've all got those. Every single team doesn't actually have a Jarvis Landry. He is a number 2 wide receiver in the league. And while he's not a number 1, I'd rather go into the season with at least a number 2 than trying to take 3 number 4s or 2 number 4s and a number 5 or a practice squad guy in Schwartz and seeing if I can make them something.
Question. Do you try to trade Kareem Hunt? at any point before his contract is up. Somebody's
All
offering
right.
you. If somebody's putting a patch together for a number one receiver, do you jump on that? Do you
I
draft a number one receiver, or who do you think might be a number one receiver going forward, or do you get one now and put a package together and ship off Hunt, who's only $6 million this year, but isn't a year of his final contract?
I said this last year, and our friend Bob Evans said I was insane. And I remember saying, and I respect Bob. Bob's rational. Bob's smarter about football than I am. And if we debated this, Bob would then put me in a box and make me look like an idiot. But the bottom line on Kareem Hunt is that he's a redundant piece on this team. He is your second string, number 2 running back. And with the emergence last year of Dearness Johnson, he is tradable if you can get value. You need a number 1 wide receiver far more than you need Kareem Hunt right now. You need it badly. You didn't when you had Odell Beckham Jr. You do now. So, at 13, I'm drafting the best wide receiver I can. And yes, if I can trade Kareem Hunt for a wide receiver or the tools to get a wide receiver or to clear the cap to be able to get a wide receiver, I do. And that's nothing against Kareem Hunt. I love Kareem Hunt. I love old school football. Let me rephrase this. I don't like the Kareem Hunt kick the woman. I love the way Kareem Hunt plays football. And I love the fact that the 1-2 punch that the Cleveland Browns have at running back is old school, 3 yards in a cloud of dust if it has to be football. But you know what? It doesn't do you any damn good in today's NFL if the other team knows you can't pass the ball. No one at all is worried about covering Harrison Bryant, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, and Hollywood Higgins or Jarvis Landry or Donovan Peoples-Jones, wherever you put out there when you leave one guy in the backfield. So you're coming out with 3 tight ends and a wide receiver, 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers, whatever combo you want. And they're going, I'll still keep 8 in the box because my middle linebacker can cover any one of those tight ends, and my strong safety can go cover both wide receivers if he has to.
It's entering the final year of the contract.
You can't run the ball anyway. So I'll get rid of Hunt for a wide receiver if I could.
All right, so you got Baker Mayfield, J.C. Treader, Denzel Ward, and, Case Keenum. Case Keenum got to go. It's too much money for a backup. To play, two games maybe? His contract is up in 2023. So is Baker, so is Denzel, so is Treader. Who do you have to resign? Now, I'm going to take Baker out that equation. I'm going to take Baker out that equation simply because this is his year to battle for his contract. Because injured last year, didn't play well because of the injury and among other things. Play calling was horrible. Put him in a bad position. Stefanski needs to work on his play calling to put Baker in a bad position to suit his skills, per se. Now, with Baker coming back healthy, hopefully, as Stefanski puts a scheme together that is more suitable to Baker's talents, Baker goes off like he did the first 2 games where he got injured, you got to re-sign Baker, of course. Now, Denzel is emerging as one of the top corners in the league, so you're going to have to re-sign him also. So the odd person out is Treader, making $10 million a year. Do you re-sign him, or do you send him somewhere else packing because he wants that same money?
I think you're hoping by the time that it's time for Treader's contract, you can move on from that. You already made a commitment to your offensive line pretty big time last year to lock up pieces of that.
You did.
And you're hoping that you have enough solid offensive linemen that you can replace or get by without J.C. Treader. So J.C. Treader is definitely the odd man out. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's people who won't agree with me, but I've always been a big Denzel Ward fan since he's been in college. He's an aggressive player. Yeah, he'll get beat at times. Maybe he's a little undersized. But Denzel Ward is an excellent corner. He's a true number 1 corner in the NFL. Maybe he's not a lockdown corner, but he is an excellent young cornerback that you can build around forever. And most times you can trust Denzel Ward to man up the other team's best receiver and hold his own. If this team gets better linebacking play, then they will be able to do some more things schematically with coverage to help him. And the other part of it is that somehow with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney, this team could not get a consistent pass rush going. You get a more of a consistent pass rush. That will help too. But I would keep Denzel Ward first over all 3 of them because that's who I believe in the most right now. Then I would prioritize Baker Mayfield and then Treader.
I agree. I think resign
That could
Denzel
change
is a
next year.
must. I don't see it changing. I see it as a must to resign Denzel, the most important cog in there. Of course, the quarterback is the most important player in the field, but Baker still has to prove himself. And I hate to say that going in year 5, but he's been a roller coaster ride since he got here. Year 1, oh my God, lights out, great. He's the future. We finally got a quarterback. Year 2, got some extra weight in the offseason, got lazy, didn't train properly, fell off a little bit, didn't look right. Year 3, came out balling again. Year 4, first 2 games, came out balling, got hurt, was crappy ever since. Here we go again. It's an odd year. Is Baker going to be good in the odd years and the even years he's going to suck? We don't know. But this is Baker's year to solidify himself as the man. So he has no choice other than to go out there and ball out this year. The only thing that may hinder that is, of course, like you said earlier, the play calling. Do we have a number one receiver? Go ahead.
Let me give you a guy's start to his career. Rookie year, 2-8, 53% completion, 2,200 yards, 13 TDs, 20 interceptions. Injured his second year. Third year, 10-6, 63% of his passes complete, 5,000 yards, 41-16. Next season, 4-12, 59.8%, 4,900 yards, 20-17. Year after that, 7-9, 58%, 29-19 for 4,600 yards. After that, 11-5, 4,200 yards, 60%, 22-12. Then went 7-9, 9-7, 9-7, 6-10, 3-4, 5-11. I'm not saying what he did this year. Who do you think this guy is? I gave it away. It's Matt Stafford. I don't think that there's a huge difference between Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford. I still think Matt Stafford is Baker Mayfield's ceiling, and the guy just won a Super Bowl when all the right pieces were there.
Listen.
I don't know what Baker is yet.
I don't hate Baker.
If you would have written off Matt Stafford after year 4, because year 4, he went 7-9, because you can't count the injured season. If you'd have wrote him off after year 4, you'd have missed the 11-5 season. And then if you'd have came back after 11-5 and he goes 7-9, like Baker kind of did last year, he went 9-7, 9-7, but that was Detroit. Okay, I'm saying I don't know if you'd have put the pieces around Matt Stafford in Detroit. It's clear now he could have got it done.
Here's the other thing I have an issue with when we talk about stats of quarterbacks and how the team does. We tend to ignore that it's a team sport.
Oh, I agree.
You can have great stats on offense and defense just sucks. That happens before. You can have one of the best offenses in the league and score 40 points a game, but defense gives up 45 points a game. It's not always on the quarterback. You have to break it down individually to see how that person plays and helps his team. If he's a valuable cog in the machine to the team, yes, criticize him, give him praise as he sees fit. But to put the whole thing on the quarterback is the craziest thing I ever heard. And that argument goes all the time. Well, the Browns can win because quarterback this, quarterback that. Defense gives up points. If we had defense shut down defense, guess what? We can score 9, not kick 3 field goals and win the game. But our defense isn't shut down defense either. Nope. So we can't put it all on Baker. We can only talk about what Baker did or didn't do.
I mean, even offensively, I'm not sure I can put this all on Baker. You couldn't run the ball last year.
No.
And
because
this
you had
is a
no
league
receivers.
where you run to pass the ball. It's not like it used to be where you pass, you pass to run the ball. Yeah. It's not like it used to be where you run to pass the ball.
What'd you break it down earlier? You broke down each receiver we have and said no one's scared of them. So everybody going to put 9 or 8 or 9 in the box and dare you to run. Nick Chubb's a great running back, so is Kareem Hunt. 1-2 punch, great. But they can't run with 9. You got 5 guys blocking and 9 guys in the box because you got no deep threat at receiver.
You can't win the helmets.
So
it's not even you don't have a deep threat receiver. You don't even have people they fear beating you on a slant. No. They're not worried about a slant.
No, you have to address receiver in this draft and free agency. You have to because you need at least somebody that can pull a safety, pull a corner, and open it up for the running game. If you want to be a run heavy offense, that's fine. But you need a receiver for that deep threat. Even though if you ain't gonna use it, you need that guy out there.
Oh, I would settle for freezing the middle linebacker for
Something.
2 seconds
Something.
so that he's not just crashing the run gap because he doesn't care.
Because when he
Because
gets
they
out, when
don't need to
Chubb gets
worry.
out there, he's gone. Chubb's going to
Yeah.
get out there and go, and then Hunt's going to make you miss and just take off too. It's
I
all
mean,
right there.
it should be that simple, but
It's not.
I think our buddy Jason Snyder said it. Watch the Browns offense. It's the most painful thing you will ever see. Every single thing has to go right with that offense. They don't score in 5 plays. When they score, it's in 14 plays. Because they're trying to do everything they can to perfectly execute to get 4.5 yards of play.
And that's what worries me about next year. It's
If they get
because
behind,
I think their window is closing.
it could be, but I think a lot of this team,
because,
I'm not.
well, you know why it's closing. You said it earlier. You gave it away why it's closing. The play calling. You have to open it up because everybody knows what you're doing now. Year one, great. You shot the coach of the year. But everybody, just like with Baker Mayfield, year one lit it up. And then people watch film on him. Oh, you're going to do this. You're going to roll out. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Same thing with Stefanski. People in the run league have said, so that's all you got. You got tight ends and running backs and no receivers. Okay, we're going to crowd your box in. Let's see what happens. They figured him out. He has to make adjustments.
I don't know if your window's closing. Your offensive line is locked up. Nick Chubb is locked up. You can easily lock up Denzel Ward. You've got Myles Garrett under contract. The important players on this team with your offensive line, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, the guys that you can't easily replace, they're not going anywhere. They're here.
True.
They're going to be here. So it is much easier to add, if we use Madden ratings, players at 79 to 82 when you've got your 90s locked up and they're not going anywhere. I don't know if the window's closing. I think the window's wide open.
It's wide open if you handle free agency right and the draft right. You need those, like you just said, you add those pieces. If you don't add those pieces, that window's closing.
I'm going to be honest. With better play calling, you could put the team that finished the season last year on the field without a change. And with better play calling, it should still go out and win 12 or 13 games next year and be in contention for the AFC Championship.
I can't disagree with that.
Better coaching,
I agree with that.
Better play calling, better all-around job by the coaching staff, putting the team in a position to win. And it's a playoff team. Average quarterback play, and it's a contender.
Were there times that you sat there and watched the game and go, "What is he calling?
Oh yeah,
what are you doing?" You have
when I saw five wide, David Njoku on a go route against the other team's best corner. Why was this play not killed in the huddle? You're at the line of scrimmage, and maybe you thought you'd get David Njoku wide on a free safety or a strong safety, and then you love it, and you're like, "Yeah, we're taking this shot." When you look out there and it's on their best corner one-on-one on your tight end. Listen, David Njoku is a great athlete for a tight end. He's going to beat a linebacker every time he's on him. He's going to beat a safety almost every time he's on him. If you see David Njoku by your other team's best corner, because Harrison Bryant and Austin Hooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Hollywood Higgins were the other guys out there. I mean, if it even was that, it might have been Dearness Johnson or Hunt spread wide at that point. I don't remember. Kill the play. Or it becomes you're running him off to clear space and look for something else. Doug Baker had the ability to audible? I don't know. Later, I saw an end-around reverse to our tight end. I mean, you want to talk about smartest man in the room syndrome? Pat Shurmur was looking on going, what were you thinking? But, I don't know. Does it need, if you take the team that started the year last year, eliminate the injuries, better play calling, and you get average Baker Mayfield instead of beat the shit Baker Mayfield, that team last year I'd still go back and pick them to win 13 games. Yeah. So I don't know how much the window's closing, and I don't know how much you need to add. They just need to get their head out of their ass.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot going on with that, man. But we'll find out more soon because the combine starts tomorrow. So we'll get a look at some of these receivers that's going to be available for us and linebackers possibly. Going to close out with this here.
Oh yeah, JOK. I forgot JOK, man.
JOK's a beast. So
He's
let's
gonna
close
be
out
there
with this.
forever.
Let's talk about the big elephant in the room, Russia. Russia did invade Ukraine after the Olympics, as I was told by a reliable source. Um, there's a lot of people putting sanctions on Russia right now, and they seem not to care at all. They like are in my shirt kind of mood. They're doing what they're doing. Um, we also have it to where they canceled a sport. I think they canceled a race. They canceled a race over there. Um, what else? I think soccer is protesting this right now, and I think it was something going on with the not the Olympics, but some kind of other sporting event that they pulled out of. Yeah, Russia suspended from international soccer over Ukraine war. So this is affecting not only our gas prices, but also affecting um, entertainment and sports right now. So, do you see this escalating more? Because I guess Putin came to the table and said he's ready to talk or something like that, which I don't believe for one bit. Or do you think this is going to escalate into something worse and maybe lead to a bigger war?
I'm of multiple minds on this. You came to me a week ago, if we'd have spoke about this, or when the war started back 5 days ago. I thought that I could have never thought the Russian army would have been this poorly managed. This should not have been as much a stand up fight as it was. They had 190,000 troops in place, and it was rather embarrassing, I'd say, if I'm the Russian military with the performance so far. The Ukrainian army still has a functioning air force on the ground. It still has a command and control system. Russia has not taken one major city. They're not in control of any of the shipping lanes. They haven't isolated anything. Do they have a foothold? Sure. Do they have a good strategic place to fight from? Yeah. But I don't think Russia anticipated the amount of military aid coming from NATO, the amount of military aid coming from other nations, and the amount of military supply and aid coming from the United States. Just providing Javelin anti-tank weapon systems that can help them. They, as President Zelensky said, I don't need a ride, I need ammunition. When they offered him a ride out of there, his leadership has changed the equation.
Yes.
I mean, this is a throwback leader, man. He sat there. He's number one on their to kill list. The objective is to kill him. His family is number two. They're 20 miles away from Kyiv. And he's there in the streets with the soldiers. I don't think they expected as many average Ukrainian citizens to just walk over and say, give me a gun.
Yeah. I mean, you got beauty models, boxers, MMA fighters. These people would probably know military training out there shooting Russians.
You got MMA fighters. You got MMA fighters coming home to fight.
That's crazy.
I've got a friend who talked about going over there to volunteer to fight for a few weeks while he could with the time that he had. Over here, the mayor of Kyiv is Vladimir Klitschko, the former heavyweight champion.
Really?
They have absolutely, I think, punched above their weight and surprised the world with what they've done.
Yeah.
I also don't think that Russia was ready for the level of sanctions coming against them. I think they thought that the first round of things would come through. Kicking them out of the SWIFT banking system is a big blow. But a bigger blow still is the fact that they are now looking at neutralizing Russia's access to its foreign currency reserves. Russia thought it built up a $600 billion war chest of currency reserves so that if they got kicked out of the SWIFT banking system, that they could support the ruble within their country. And they can't. The ruble is it's tanking. They raised their benchmark interest rate from 9.5% to 20% to try to support the ruble, and it didn't work. Vlad Putin could be getting a lot of pressure back against him from the oligarchs who can't access their money. It's going to get harder for Putin to get his own money.
Yeah.
And as the people in the streets feel that pressure, and feel get that unrest well up, it might be hard for even Vlad Putin to control the narrative. I feel better about this being contained now more than I did 5 days ago. I feel better that China has watched and seen that while the United States didn't mobilize ground troops and go in there and defend the Ukraine, they did continue to supply weapons, and they will at least do that for Taiwan. And I do believe that in the event of an attack in the Taiwanese Strait, I think China realizes now that the resolve of the United States is probably still there potentially to go fight. Ukraine is not a NATO member. We don't have a treaty with them. We do have a treaty with Taiwan.
Yeah.
That said, I've said this before. It's easy for me to say as someone who hasn't served. So I will take any criticism to this with a grain of salt. This country, for many, many years after World War II, was the guarantor of freedom for the world. If a despot or a tyrant was moving on a sovereign nation and trying to initiate a war of conquest, they knew that the United States would be there in its way. For the first time in a long time, a tyrant has started an unjust war and an unprovoked war on a peaceful sovereign nation. And the United States has said, we'll play arms dealer and we'll use our economic muscle to help you. But has come out and said, we will not send troops. And in a way, from a purely ethical, moral standpoint, this bothers me. Because if these were Taiwanese lives that we have a treaty with, we would say that those lives are worth fighting for and risking war. If these were the lives of a NATO country, like Lithuania, we would be treaty bound to put our troops on the ground and defend them. We've moved, NATO and the United States have moved troops around in Europe so that Russia knows that if they happen to try to destroy freedom in those countries and topple the rightful government, that the United States will take military action. Part of me says, why is it right to fight for one group of people, but this other group of people we will give them over as sacrificial lambs to Vlad Putin and say, you're in it on your own. Your freedom and your lives and your children's lives and your country isn't worth what Lithuania is. I feel better about the response of the Biden administration today. And maybe it is that cooler heads prevailed. And maybe, there's another side to this equation. Do you want to go to war with Russia? How many American lives do you want to risk for how many Ukrainian lives? I don't like that calculus. I don't like putting lives on this hand with lives on this hand and saying the lives on this hand mean a little more. And in this situation, for these lives, I won't risk American lives. But for these lives, because of a piece of paper, they become valuable enough that I will. This is all easy for me to say as a man who never served.
Yeah, but
I hesitate to really make this, to really get really out there on this one and passionate, but morally, I feel like the United States has said, we've given up American hegemony. The long American peace that essentially has been in place since the 1940s without a major land war of conquest in another country, in a sovereign nation, has ended. And the United States kind of sat back and said, we'll help you, buddy, as much as we can with supplies and stuff, but if it means actually fighting treasure, we'll send it. But blood? And we used to, a great nation pays that price. That's why they're great.
All right. That was a quiet rant by Scott Kennison. We waiting for the major rant. We haven't had that happen.
It's a heavy subject, man. I feel like
it is.
Sabotage and it, screaming dumbass and that kind of stuff, like I would do in other cases for this one. There's lives. Look, man, this comes down to lives on the line.
It's crazy.
There are women huddling. I see toddlers in metro stations in their mother's arms while bombs are falling, and all I can think about is, but for the grace of God, that could be my niece. But for the grace of God, that could be my nephew.
There was a tank they showed that ran over a car. The car was in the opposite direction, going the opposite way, and it swerved to hit the tank and ran it over. And I don't know how this man survived, but he survived that. The tank rolled him over, sat there, backed off, and kept going. And you saw the Ukrainians trying to dig him out. I guess he had laid down in the car, kind of like this. The car was flat. He was laying down in the seat, but he has
Just
mask
got
on.
in that space.
He has mask
He
on.
had his mask on.
He did have his
But
mask
I
on.
mean, it's hard to rant about that because it's a subject of gravitas. You know, I mean, on any side of this equation, do you do nothing and take an action that causes lives to die, or do you take an action that results in lives dying? You don't have it. There's no real win here.
No, it's not.
But what do you do?
Not.
And for the future, what do you do? I almost feel, and this is what I come down to, I hate it. It's a crap situation. It's a crap equation. But I almost feel like what you have to do, even though I agree with Lou that Putin's mental state is probably not there. He's a madman. And I think he truly is mad. But if you don't stand and fight here, then the next guy says they've given up, they don't have the stomach to fight. And that's when you have problems. Yeah. And the thing about being a world leader, the thing about being Joe Biden, and I'm glad I don't have the job, is you have to be willing. You are faced with the decision of, do I do nothing and put the lives of millions of Ukrainians at risk, give up the freedom of millions of Ukrainians potentially, allow that destruction, allow all that damage, allow children to go through this trauma, and do nothing and stand by and watch it happen and just try to give them arms and tell them to take care of it themselves? Mm-hmm. Or do I take action, send my troops over, lose American lives, still not prevent the loss of Ukrainian lives, still not prevent the damage, still not prevent the trauma to the kids, but maybe I mitigate it. And maybe the next guy sees that I'm still standing here with the resolve to look at the despots and the tyrants of the world and say, I am the backbone and the guarantor of freedom. And if you want to do this, you will come through me. And this is still a lion with teeth. And I don't know if we've said that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to close it out with that because I think that's probably a good note to end on right there for this week. So next week, we will see what else develops in the world and in the sporting world. And hopefully things get a little bit better out there for everybody else. So for our producer, Lewis, I am TJ. For Scott, we'll see you guys next week. This is Hill Talk Sports.
Do your part to control the tyrant population. Have your Vlad Putin.